Good evening, everybody.
I'm going to hide that thing.
Welcome to tonight's governing board meeting. As point of order, we have 4 or 5 board members here. Mr. Aldama may come in late if work allows it this evening. So at this time, we would like to adopt our agenda. Are there any changes to it? Can I have a motion?
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
All right, at this time, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so at this time, we will just do a moment of silence. Thank you. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So at this time on our agenda, it says that we would be going into a study session, but I would like to move, we have a couple calls to the public up here, and we're going to let them go at this time. But at this time, when I call your name, we are going to limit you to the 3 minutes that we have on there. You'll hear a little bell, and then when you hear it, if you're not done at the 3 minutes, please finish at that time, and because we have a study session that we want to get to. So at this time, I'm going to call up Corinne Grant, and she's going to speak to us as board members.
Well, good evening, Madam President. I can speak loud. Good evening, Madam President, executive team, and honored board members. My name is Corinne Grant, and I'm the GESD band lead here and also the band director at Glendale American and Horizon. I'm here tonight on behalf of myself, all the band directors, and the music teachers to thank you so much for supporting the arts and for sending us to the AMEA convention last weekend. It was amazing. I've been teaching for 38 years, and I learned some new things, and it's fantastic. I went ahead and started implementing some of these things in my class, my band class. Go off in their eyes and go, oh my gosh, that makes sense. Just to learn something new or just to say it a different way. So thank you so much for allowing us to do that. It really helped all of us. On the same note, get it? No. We've been hearing that enrollment is going down in GESD schools, particularly with the introduction of charter schools in our area. And I want to tell you just a quick little story. A few years back, after a winter concert, several parents came up to me. They said they were considering moving their children to the charter school, but the charter schools didn't have band programs. So they decided to stay at, this was at Glendale American at the time, because of the band programs here. So I was talking to Norma yesterday, and I said, if there's some way we can promote that in, I think you guys are using GCU to do some sort of a campaign or something. If they need my help, or if you need my help, or we can definitely help in any way that we can, so just give us a call. Because we want to keep our kids here. And then, with that said, we have raised the honor band schools to 12 will be representing in our honor band in April. And so we'd like to definitely invite you all. And I'll be bringing next month your little invitations with the candies and everything too. So we hope to see you at our honor band performance April 10th. But thank you all for your support of the arts and the band program. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, Jessica Peck, if you would like to come up, you have your 3 minutes also.
Thank you, members of the board, as well as our superintendent. I'm just here tonight because as a member of PAC, as well as SAC, as well as Meet and Confer, I have a deep passion for making sure that our district is absolutely the best it can possibly be. And I know that you share that passion as well. And I know that you have your special retreat coming up on Saturday to deal with the pressing issues that we have with our budget. And I very much share that concern. My mother was an accountant for an apartment complex with thousands of citizens in Hartford, Connecticut, the capital, and so I was raised to know, pay your bills. I 100% honor that value. That is our second goal for the governing board. I just ask that when you're having those deep, important conversations, please, please, please keep in mind the other goals. Number 1, increasing student achievement, and number 3, attracting and retaining highly qualified staff. Any solutions that we propose needs to keep those goals in mind as well, because we don't want to get into a situation where we tighten the belt so far that we actually hurt ourselves and possibly lose even more students. Our academics and our quality staff is what keeps our students here, and I just hope that we all share that same holistic vision. And I know it can get very overwhelming when you have large expenses. Last year I had 50% of my take-home income was consumed by a car accident and medical bills. So I know that it can be a very overwhelming, but let's keep our eyes on the whole picture of making our district the best that it can be, with all 3 goals being prioritized in your session. So thank you again so much for your time, and I hope that all of that will be balanced very much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so this time we are going to move into our study session, and we are going to start with A, our policy manual review. But before we actually start going and discussing our review, I'm going to read what it says underneath here. It says the governing board will review the policy manual sections A through C. And then, so right now, we're going to review, but we need to be careful at this time because it says a study session and it doesn't say an action. So if you have some policies that you would like us to go back over as we're discussing, we'll bring them back at another time, so like for future meetings. So if you could just think of it that way. So, I guess if you want to, Mr. Jones.
Yes, good evening, Madam President, members of the board. The purpose of policy manual, we know that it is for us to review and discussion at that time. So under the first one is 3A. If we look at 3A, district mission and belief statements, and then stated for you in each of those. A,
Mic's on.
Well, at this,
okay. So at this time, on this particular one, the mission statement, if we want to leave it as is, as well as, that's a section of A, district mission and belief statement.
so I think for A, is this something that we want to bring back at a later time to review? If it's someone's thoughts on that one?
I'm assuming that all board members have had a chance to read all these, right?
I hope so.
Well, they should have. So,
Madam President, I didn't see anything wrong with this one. I thought it was very well stated, and I don't have a problem with this one personally.
Okay.
Do you want to just go through each one, or just Do you guys want to go through each one, or would you like to just say Section A? Let's just do Section A.
I was going to say, if everybody's had a chance, we're supposed to have read through it, then
Right.
if there was a concern, maybe you can just bring it out. Or if not, we can just move on.
Yeah, so let's just look at Section A, there's several in there as well. So if there are any that there's questions or that we need to address or change, we can do that.
Anything for Section A from anyone?
Dealt with community involvement, sexual harassment.
Hold on, there might have been,
I would look at ACA-R only because it is on sexual harassment, and remember how the documents are set up. The blue is new, so there were some new, but it was minor.
You know, the only thing that I didn't have a problem with at all with this section, except under AD, Educational Philosophy, School District Mission. In that first paragraph, about 3/4 of the way down, it says the governing board of the district is selected by the citizens, and I really think it should say elected, because we are elected officials. We're not selected. Because that kind of sends, I think, a weird message.
Elected? Yep.
So let's bring back
elected.
AD for discussion.
I'll make a note of those. Okay, and then that is all of Section A. So if we go to Section B, BA, and these sections are about the board operational goals, the board self-evaluation, legal status, attorneys, and there are sections in here, as you've read, that are new, especially the notification of board meetings.
Yep. Well, I had a concern on BAA.
BAA?
Yeah, just because it really doesn't show anything about being student-centered when we evaluate ourselves.
The evaluation for
Yeah.
the overall evaluation of the
Yep.
governing board. All right.
Which then, of course, also tied in with BAAE as well, you know, not having more questions that are promoting being, you know, student-driven.
So is it the desire of the board to bring these back for further discussion?
Well, I'm sorry, Madam President, Mrs. Bartels, what was that second one you said, BAA? Oh, okay.
The exhibit,
Okay, right here.
because the questions don't really connect. You know, if we're supposed to be here educating children, and there's very little that's student-focused, you know, at least in how we look at things.
If you look at BAAE, and if you look at the third page of that, the board makes an effort to keep informed about the instructional program by providing periodic reports to Steve Nesser and by periodic visitation in schools. That would be student-focused.
I think that was the only question that was connected to students. And there's nothing about equity either.
Okay.
I would like to come back and discuss BDA. It's fine, for me, it's fine the way it is right now, but I want to just have us come back and discuss BDA.
BDA?
Yes.
That one was a change that I noticed.
Oh, the organizational meeting?
Yeah, that the clerk doesn't take that role for that, just that brief moment, in case the board president is not back.
I just want to remind us also that when you see it in new, and we always go back and do the reference to statute, but any of it is really what ASBA's guidelines are, so we have that flexibility to change. Okay, so bring back BDA.
Yes.
Now, BCA was one that, moving the last statement to the first to make first and greatest concern being the educational welfare of students.
Can I say that again?
BCA,
Yeah, what about it?
moving the last bullet to the first bullet.
I thought we had discussed that at one other time.
When we did it here.
Oh, we did there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So BCA, moving the bullet. Which bullet are we moving?
Making the last bullet the first bullet.
Okay. All right, and then BDA, bring back for discussion?
Discussion.
Okay.
BDA,
Yeah.
BDA, board organizational meeting.
what was the reason for that again?
Just
It's a
Things that we
big
heard.
change.
it's changed, just so we just discuss the changes and what's on there, and if that's the way that we want it. And then,
I did want to, BCBE, looks like that's something that we need to fill out every year, because this does have a part at the bottom that is
It's
for
an
people.
exhibit, we can,
Yeah.
BCBE is an exhibit, we can have an exhibit or not have an exhibit.
I know.
I know, the alphabet. BCBE is board member conflict of interest, and that's an exhibit. So we want to change that, or,
Well, no, I like it because it has the statement of no conflict, so I'm just curious, is that something that we would be filling out every year? I just had a question about it.
Mr. Berrigan?
Madam President, members of the board, what we start to implement is after every election, make that available to you. We haven't done that quite yet, but at the next meeting, that's something that we can make available for you.
Especially since this is a
or-
brand new form.
Or to you, with the expectation that every board member fill that out based on their potential conflict of interest or not.
so you're saying after every election, but not every year, every school year?
Madam President, members of the board, let me clarify. The government that's what I meant. I apologize.
The reorganization
Okay.
of the board.
Okay.
So so I don't remember it saying anything in the policy before it. Can you turn the page on yours?
BCB, board member conflict of interest?
Yeah, on the policy itself, does it say that it should come forth at the beginning of the organizational? Can we, is that law?
Madam President, members of the board, the reason we chose a couple years ago to make it after the reorganization of the board, that was just probably good timing every year to do it when the board changed, potentially in its role. And so that was just the idea. It's not necessarily prescribed by statute, other than you have to do it on a regular annual basis. And so it just made sense, at least in our office, to just do it when the board chose officers, if you will.
Can we ask Ms. Powell if this is, when we go back later and we vote like a simple change, or just leave it the way it is?
Well, this is just policy, we can just adopt. This is just the exhibit, and we can deal with the exhibit differently.
We have the
Yeah, we have the ability to change any exhibit, so.
Because I appreciate the fact that it has the no conflict, because that was our dilemma.
This was among the policies that the board approved and adopted back in September, and there were changes made to that exhibit based on feedback from the board.
Right. So what was that, what?
So policy is fine, and then we just want to make sure that after each reorganization, that the exhibit is presented and signed.
So we don't need to make a change to that.
No change to policy. Okay, then we're going to do BDA, bring it back for discussion. BDB board officers, everything else we're okay with in section B, or were there others?
I have a couple more.
Okay.
I'd like to bring back BEDA.
BEDA?
Yes, the notification of board meetings. Just to have a discussion on it.
This one has quite a few changes, okay, by SBA. So we'll bring this back for discussion.
Another one that I thought was of value to bring back for discussion, I don't think changes needed to be made, was BDG. It has to do with the school attorney. BDG.
BDG.
BDG. We're going to get letter punchy before long.
I just want to make sure I noted on the, no. BDG. BEDG.
No, BDG.
BDG?
Bad dog, good.
Bad dog good.
Are you confused? I am so confused, but I know I'm on this one.
Good. Well, I have BDD.
Before that, BDG. Wait, no, after. Sorry.
I know my ABCs. BDE. And after that, we have BDF, and then comes G, school attorney. All right, bring this back for discussion?
Yeah, just because if we don't review our own board policies, we may not realize there are certain things that we're supposed to do. And it just makes sure everybody understands, who it is that can contact the attorney. Also, apparently, according to this, the district's supposed to share with the board if somebody has had to ask for an opinion.
Okay, so discussion.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no changes.
Madam President, I'd like to bring back BK and BKA.
This is a question I have. This is on BBBB, which is the board member oath of office. And this is open meeting law. It says a newly elected or appointed governing board member shall, at least one day before taking office, review the Arizona open meeting law, OML, material prepared by the Attorney General. I just want to know before we bring it, if I want to bring it back, if we have this in place.
This is new, because it's blue.
So I'm just curious how.
If I remember right, the ASBA new board member orientation satisfies that requirement?
Mm-hmm. So that's why they put it in.
So could we include that as a
But if, okay, when did you say that the ASB? But if you do the orientation,
no, they do it after the
Board member orientation that the district attorney does includes the
Open meeting law.
information in that.
okay.
But I did.
She got it.
Okay.
And you received, okay, we're good?
We're
Okay.
good. I just wanted
No,
to make sure.
clarification.
Yep.
Sure.
So yeah, you don't
Okay.
have to bring it back or anything.
So, C, yeah, we have, if we can get through C, we have 5 minutes, okay.
Do you want to go back and make sure we captured all that?
Yeah, let's see if there's any in C, then we'll go back and capture. Are we okay? All right, C, changes or concerns or discussions?
Oh, I just had a question about CFD. So close. Because my question on this one, it's referring to site councils?
Yes, it is. Schools, we call them school site councils. We put the word site after school site councils.
And then do we have them adhere to the same types of reporting? Because there was stuff in here that it kind of mirrored how we have to like have our minutes and things and agendas. Okay.
That's taken care of at the site level.
Okay.
Anyone else? in C. I think C's good.
C's good. Let's just go back quickly and make sure we've captured everyone we need to bring back for discussion. So Ms. Powell will read those off to us, and then we'll make sure we have them all.
Okay, so in section A, there's policy AD, we're going to be making an adjustment to language from selected to elected. Policy BAA will be brought back for discussion. Policy BDA brought back for discussion. BCA, there will be a bullet adjustment that doesn't need to be brought back for discussion. BEDA, BDG, and BKA, and BK also brought back for discussion. But no changes on any of the discussion.
Did you have BAA in your list? And BAA?
BAA, yes.
Okay.
Could
Just
we-
too many letters.
Could you email us with those so that we can look them over beforehand?
Absolutely. We'll put those in. Okay, all sections. So then we will continue in the same format with the
Can we
rest.
add one more to the, for discussion, is BE?
BE?
Yep.
Okay, BE. Sections A, B, and C are fairly quick to get through, but as we progress through the manual, you know, we will have to take certain policies at a time, or certain sections, only one section at a time, because it's going to be quite lengthy as, for example, G will be lengthy for us.
Right.
Okay?
All right, so we are done with the policy manual review. Let's go to the superintendent's contract addendum, which is in your folder also. So we're just bringing this up. So you want to do that?
Okay, so the question was on the why we're bringing this to you is that all contracts that were executed to all staff members, came out of an Attorney General's opinion that we should use the clause to the extent appropriate for the occasion and part of the compensation the district may provide incidental food and beverages at mandatory staff meetings, including in-services and staff development activities, trainings, in order to foster good working relations and encourage and reward staff participation. This was put in there so that we wouldn't be they wouldn't view it as a gift of public funds. And so and it's in every other employee's contract. When we negotiated my contract, that was not in there, and we caught that. And so be placed in all contracts, so that would include superintendent's contracts. I can't speak to every superintendent's contract.
It just seems I've read that somewhere.
It could be. It would be the practice. Mr. Barragan, do you know?
Madam President, members of the board, this, I think, was in about 2010, and so the changes were made to employee contracts, whether they were the superintendent, everyone that was employed by a district. Those changes were made by the two law firms that generally help school districts. And so I think, as Superintendent Sagata Jones mentioned, for whatever reason, this was an oversight on the superintendent's contract. And so to make it align with their previous recommendations, it's being brought before you here today.
Well, that is the end of our study session. Do we need to recess at all? So we can just keep going? All right, well, we started a little bit earlier, and I don't see any more call to the public up here, but if they come up, I will let them do that if they had something. And then, so we'll just go to 5, our special recognition.
Yes, Madam President, members of the board, the Governing Board will recognize the Arizona Coyotes for their partnership with the district's physical education department for teaching hockey in our schools. And so I will now turn it over to Dr. Peterson and Carvalho.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Ms. Cindy Sagata-Jones. We have in the audience today Ms. Nikki Ferguson, who is a PE teacher at South, and her guests from the Arizona Coyotes, and they'd like to present something and talk about the partnership with their schools. So if they'd come forward.
Good evening, Madam President, board members, Superintendent Sagata-Jones, audience. This is Matt Schott. He has worked with us for the last 7 years in the PE department from the Arizona Coyotes. To our campus and actually taught our students. They have changed the program to a curriculum. They have given us a beautiful 6-day curriculum for 3rd through 6th grade. I just got my stuff, we've been implementing it. We were lucky enough to be selected, since we are the home elementary school district of the Coyotes at South, to be on TV a couple of months ago before Christmas break, playing hockey and talking about the love of sports in general, and especially hockey. And so, in thanking us for our partnership with our district, the Coyotes would like to present us with a jersey for the district.
I confirm there's 18 schools, right?
17?
17.
Plus GSA.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, we donated 18 to your schools, so we got.
Won't you
Wonderful.
Won't you come down?
Go down and get that.
Won't you guys all come down and?
We're very, very thankful for you guys. You guys were the first school that I reached out to when I started, so it's an honor to work with you guys. Glad that you're
Get really tight here.
Here, hold the sleeve.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Pass it around.
We're going to pass it.
When it's your turn to speak to her.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
For your
guys.
partnership.
Thank you very much. Thank you guys all very much. So, thank you.
Thank you, yes. Thank you for all of your, I saw you on
She was
TV.
the one
Great
that got
job.
me in here. So she's in our curriculum booklet.
Oh, we need to get a nice frame for that
Yeah, I think I think next year.
after we all take it home and wear it.
All right, well, we are just moving along here. We are going to our consent agenda. And are there any items that board members would like pulled at this time? Well, seeing no one has any that they want pulled?
I'll make a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
Second?
All right, Ms. Pimentel, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ms. Wilson?
Aye.
Ms. Bartels?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you. Passes. I have an old
Yeah.
agenda thing. I'm sure at this time that we're going 8 for reports, I don't remember, can you read?
Yes,
Read yours?
yep.
So 8, it's our Arizona School Boards Association report from our attendance at Bolts.
So, Madam President, members of the board, at this time, it was requested that you would like to use this item to discuss, or to share what occurred during your Bolts training. And we'll begin with, I believe, who were Ms. Board Member Bartels, Board Member Smith were in attendance, and Liz Powell also was not only in attendance, but she presented as well.
And she did a very good job.
Yes, she.
So let's let Ms. Bartels, why don't you start?
I'm going kind of with the agenda from that day. One of the things that was kind of an aha, and it's actually within some of the changes in our policies that we're just discussing. This day and age, we have to be very careful as board members how we're communicating. So, like if I were to send a text to 3 other board members and say, hey, we should do this and move forward something that could be on our agenda, that actually is an open meeting law violation. So, you know, they brought a little more of the technology to the forefront on that subject. So, that's a critical one to acknowledge because it is so easy to just mindlessly do and not realize that you're doing anything like that. They also had about building trust through communication protocols. I especially took notes during, you know, the whole crisis process. As much as we don't want to have that reality, we know we need to be prepared for that reality. So some of the things that were pointed out was that as board members, we should come in and see our emergency protocols, not share them out because you don't want to, you know, share your hand with everybody, but also have an established process as to communication. So if it's a minor situation that, yes, we can get that information from our superintendent, say the next day, but if it's something major that we understand, okay, we're going to get a quick blip, this is happening, we've got it under control, and then we wait for that information to come back to us when time allows for it to be done. Because we don't want to have 5 board members bombarding our superintendent or others that are, you know, dealing with a critical situation, distracted. Call to the public they talked about, and I wrote it down as a note of an interesting change that could potentially be done. We could do it similar to what the city does. So you have kind of a general topics, education related, but then closer to the agenda item that is specific, then you could have a call to the public for a specific item at that time frame, just as an idea of something to consider down the road if we so choose. Setting that up and making sure everybody knows what that process is, including us, so that we can guide people back to the right levels, because it's always best to solve problems at the closest point. And then they also talked more about the characteristics of effective school boards. You know, it's something we should always revisit because it will help us to be a better district if we're better leaders. Yeah.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
I'm going to piggyback on some of the things. Some of the reasons that I wanted to bring those policies back for discussion were things that I had heard at Bolts, and actually I haven't been to Bolts since I was newly elected, so this is the first time in a long time, and I was glad that I actually went, and it was just a reminder, and then it was also to help me know, just remind me of some of the other changes that are going on. But one of the things that was mentioned and why I want to bring things back is, again, about call to the public, and so that we can discuss it. Do we want to keep it the way it is, or do